Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here. This is my first Glowforge workshop. So you may have joined me in some of my other classes with Michael's. We've done sewing, we've done craft cutters. This is my first Glowforge class. So I am so excited to bring the technology of the Glowforge into my home decor and into my crafting options. So I please do use that Q&A if you have a Glowforge. If you're thinking about getting one and you have some questions, I'd love to be able to answer those for you. Now, I've got to say, like Felicia, I don't have all of the questions. I'm not quite a Glowforge expert yet, but I've been playing with it and working with it and crafting with it for a while now. The Glowforge Aura is a newer machine. So I've had it for about, I think it's been on the market for about 2 months or so. So it's really an exciting machine. And what makes it so exciting is, number one, the price point is at a crafter's price point. It's not an industrial machine. The size of the machine makes it really nice to work with. So I love that feature and the versatility of it. There are so many different projects you can make with the variety of materials that you can cut. And every day I'm finding out more and more materials that I can cut this. So I'm leaning forward. I have my laptop off to the left. Cutting with fabric. So Kathy, I have cut I've cut felt with the Aura. I have not cut fabric, like a cloth fabric or something like that with the Aura. I don't know that I would necessarily. I guess it depends on what my finished project is intended to be. If I were doing it for to applique the fabric on something, maybe I would. But what the Glowforge does is it's a laser cutter. So it uses a fine point laser to cut out your elements. And that's what allows you to get the fine details, as you see in the little pumpkins here, and even finer details than you're seeing here. But the laser allows you to get really clean, fine point details. What it does though is that since it is a laser, it burns through your material. And that's how it cuts with the laser. So if you were to cut fabric, I honestly haven't tried fabric, but I would worry a little bit about the flammability of the fabric, but also it does give like a burned edge to your project. If you're working with wood or with paper, it will sort of leave like a laser residue, for lack of a better word, but it is like a burn effect on the edge of your material. But that is the fun thing about this is I'm like, could I do this? And then I try it out and see if it works and what the settings are that I need to put the machine on to achieve the settings. So let's talk a little bit about the setup of the Glowforge. You have your Glowforge machine, which is the laser cutter. And I have mine right now. We're going to go to it in a little bit. I have it as another overhead camera. And you can either vent your machine out a window and create like a venting system out the window, or you can use a filter, which you can purchase as a sidekick to your Glowforge Aura. So if you don't have the option to vent it out a window, or you just are in a closed environment, you definitely want to use the filter or vent it through the window. So that's kind of how I have my setup, and that's why I didn't want to bring it over here because I'm not close enough to the window. But we will go to my Glowforge in a little bit here, and we'll work on that. The other component, so you have the Glowforge and the filter, and then the other component is the software on the website that you use to create your projects. Now, there are a ton, and I mean a ton of different projects within the Glowforge software. So you can just grab one of those projects, like these pumpkins are one of the projects that are in the Glowforge library of projects, and you can just use that project and cut the pieces out. You can also use a separate program outside of the Glowforge program to create SVGs and PNGs and upload those files to cut in the software. So basically the software communicates your designs to your Glowforge Aura. I personally would not use it to design. Like little bits of designs is great and it's very easy to do if you want to add a name to something or create simple shapes that you're cutting out. But if you're doing something a little bit more intricate and detailed, I would recommend doing that in a different type of designing software and then importing your designs into the Glowforge software. So you can either design your own designs or grab designs online. You can purchase them from other designers and upload those designs. In fact, we're going to have a class in November that I will give you an image and we will upload it and then cut it with our Glowforge. So you'll learn how to do that with me in November. But getting started, and I always say the best way to learn a new piece of technology is to work with it on a regular basis. And starting out with a project makes that super easy. So this is the project I thought I'd bring to you guys to start today because you have multiple pumpkins to choose from. You can choose which ones you want to cut. Maybe you just want one pumpkin, maybe you want 10 pumpkins, whatever you'd like to do. So this is the project we're going to talk about today. It does take a while to cut the designs. So a 12 by 12 sheet with 4 pumpkins on it took over 2 hours to cut. So we won't be doing too much cutting during the workshop today. That you'll have to do on your own. But we can talk about the different materials I used and some of the different materials that Glowforge has. So we have, this is the light plywood and comes in 12 by 12. So it sits really nicely in the Glowforge Aura. Now the Glowforge Aura does have side doors that you can open. So we've got this bigger piece of material here. If you're working with a bigger piece of material like the cherry veneer, this is a 12 by 24 inch. You can open those side doors and place this material in and cut a larger piece of material. The Glowforge materials all have these QR codes on them. And when Glowforge registers your materials, it looks for the QR code. That way, in the software, it automatically selects the cut settings based on the material you're using. So whether you're using like a plywood, a veneer, if you're using some of the different acrylics, it will look for this QR code and it will register that that's the material you're cutting, and then it will cut using those settings. Now you can also create your own settings for different materials. To do that, I recommend a couple tools. One is a digital caliper. This is a new tool for me, but it basically, when it's on, you can measure let's see if I can get mine to turn on now. Of course, it's not behaving, but when you turn it on, you slide this down and you can grasp the measurement, the width of your material with the digital caliper. Then you know exactly how deep your material is, and that helps your laser to determine how deep the cut needs to be to go through it. So having the proper depth, if you're using materials other than the Glowforge recommended materials, that's how you would figure out how deep that cut needs to be. So I have cut with the Make Market different materials, and this does have the measurements on it. This is 1/132nd of an inch. So this does have the measurement on it. But if I were just using a different type of wood, or let's say I wanted to do a cutting board and I needed to know exactly how deep it was, that's the caliper. Another tool you'll need if you're cutting non-Glowforge materials, the Glowforge materials will have a masking tape cover on it, and that protects your material from any burns. So when I use the Make Market wood, like this material, I have a thick roll of masking tape and I masking tape the material so that I don't get any burn marks on the wood with the laser going through that. So these are the two tools that you'll need when you're using materials that are not have the proof grade Glowforge Aura symbol on it. And you'll notice that the Glowforge Aura symbol, there's like an orange symbol there that lets you know it's for the Aura. and it's proof grade, which means they've proved that it works in their machine, and they know the settings. Your machine and the software all have the settings to go together. So when you're selecting your materials, that's what you can look for. I did use the Glowforge 12x12 light basswood plywood to make my pumpkins, and it took about 5 sheets of the 12x12. So if I had 12x24, I would only need 2 to 3 sheets of the 12x24 size, like this one, to cut the same amount of designs. Now, my inspiration for my project today was this ribbon. So I thought this would be fun. Like, I was sort of anticipating tying it around the pumpkins, but I'm not sure I want to do that. I may just use it on a wreath or something. So if you want to add some ribbon, you can grab some ribbon to add to it. I use the E6000 glue to glue my wooden pieces together. It really holds up very well, and you just need a dabble do ya. So I use that. And then I, of course, have some paint colors and paint brushes to go along with my with the material that I selected. And then we'll go ahead and make a cut, paint, and assemble our project today. So you guys can see that. Now, one thing, let me go over here, set this aside. When you are working with the software, you can place your cuttings, whatever you're cutting, within the plate that fills the 12x12 space. I save my pieces. So like this is something I've cut out before. I save this because even in this tiny space, or even up here in this tiny space, I can later go back and use this to cut something out if I need just a little something. Maybe I just need a little gnome nose or something like that. So I can use that little space. So you really can get a lot of different pieces on one board. If you make earrings, you can make, you know, a lot of earrings off of one board if you want to. So you really save your materials and maximize it. Like I may have cut one thing on here and then I'm just going to keep using this board and adding as I go. So I try and cut where I don't have the QR code, so I can always use the QR code, and that'll be the last place that I cut on my design. Okay, I'm going to grab my computer and bring it a little bit closer to me so I can take us in, share my screen and take us into the software. So yes, the great question. Do you take both sides of the wood? Yes, you want to take both sides of the wood. The laser goes through the wood, so you do want to tape both sides, the front and the back. If you're cutting something that you're going to glue together, like the bases on our little pieces here, maybe I wouldn't tape the back, but I think probably just it's better if you do tape both sides of it as you go. So yes, the materials are available in Michael's, and you can also get the materials from online. So if your location doesn't carry it, I know one of my Michael's stores has a really great selection near me, and then another one doesn't really have a selection. So I can either go to that Michael's, or I can order the extra materials online. The Make Market materials should be in all of the different Michaels. I found it at all my Michaels near me, and you can order that online. It's in like the sublimation area where you're the technology row, I call it. So it'll be like where your vinyl is and things like that. The Make Market wood is there. But you can also go into like the other wood section. They've got some cute cutting boards I've had my eye on for a while to work with those. Okay, so I'm gonna let me pull up the Glowforge website, and we will talk about how to get started, like how to send your project into to your Glowforge. And I had signed out, so let me sign in. Okay, so coming back over to Zoom, I'm going to share my screen, and keep your questions coming. I do have my eye on that, so I can answer your questions. So do keep those questions coming. So when I come into the Glowforge website, you have a lot of options. So you can look into what projects you might want to make. If you want to make a project from somebody else, you've got like some recent designs. These are designs I've done. And you also have Glowforge recommended projects. So when you go into a project, so let's just search designs and we'll find, let's just do like a pumpkin search. So you'll see a lot of different choices dealing with pumpkins, like the round door decorations are available for you. You've got some cute earrings to make, so many different pumpkin projects that you can make. And it even recommends materials that you can use to make those projects. So let me find our shelf, guys. I may have to be a little bit more specific. Pumpkin shelf. See if that pops up. So you do have the one with the set of 3. This is a set of 7 is what I'm looking for. It's right here, floral pumpkin shelf. Now, if you have the your membership, you have access to the different designs. So I have my membership, and this design is free to me as a premium member, or you can just purchase the design one time and then you can use it as much as you want. Once you've selected your design, you go to open my design, and you can see my Glowforge tray is right here. And what I want to show you, I'm going to zoom out for a second. And I'm going to reset this design. I've been mucking around with this design. So you'll notice that with this design, you have a couple of different parts of it. So you'll have like the lacy top part, you'll have a blank pumpkin, and then you'll have the holder base. So each of these individual pumpkin pieces you cut out. And if you'll notice, this all grouped together is much bigger than my cutting space. So I can individually choose which pumpkins I'm going to use and place them on the frame that I'm working with. Now I have to remember, because when I go to see the other pumpkins, I just have to click on if I want to see like the top layer of the pumpkins, I go to part 2. And let me I'm going to open up my top. Let's see. Do you want to share? I'm going to stop sharing here and we'll share my overhead if we could, Felicia. So I'm going to put my Glowforge material into the overhead and you'll see what happens. So right now on the computer, it just has a honeycomb fixture to it. When I turn it on, and the good thing is I've cut out a bunch of stuff, so I got my tray really dirty, so I can show you all how we clean it. So I just put that in there, and the light goes on. There is right here, this is the sensor. So the sensor will glide across these 2 bars. Let me just see if I am not making it. This is your sensor, and it will glide across the 2 bars. It will identify the material in my machine using that QR code. And when you'll see what happens when I go to my software now. I'll share my screen in just a second here. But when I go to my software, you'll actually see that piece of wood in your software. So let me share my screen again here. So now you can see that piece of wood is in my screen, and you can see where that is. So I've cut out my pieces here, and the last piece I need to cut is this, my number. I numbered them all, and I'll show you guys how I did that in a second. But I wanted to make sure that I knew which pieces went with everything. So I'm going to take these guys here, my bases, and I'm just going to move these to the side. When they're on the side like that, they won't cut. So if it's not on the machine, it won't cut. And I want to make sure that I have the right number I'm cutting. Pretty sure I do. I numbered, since the bases were not numbered. I wasn't sure which one went with which top. So I went through and I numbered all the different bases, 1 through 8, 1 through 7. I didn't do 6 because I figured if my pumpkin went upside down, that wouldn't work very well. So I numbered them 1 through 8 just to make it easier. Now, when I bring this onto my canvas, it will cut out my pumpkin shape. The number 8 on the left side here, you'll notice that I have all my numbers listed. These are like the layers. And if I wanted to cut the number 8, I would click on it and then I could say, okay, we're going to cut this material. And it would cut using the proof grade cut because it's already identified that I have light basswood plywood. But I want to ignore that number 8. I don't need to cut that number 8. I just want the pumpkin base to be cut out for me. Once I've got it positioned how I want it on the piece of wood that I can see, then I'm just going to go over to the side here and click print. Now, one thing you'll notice if I hide this, usually, I don't know why it's not doing it, but on the side here, you'll see people will, like I have a community where it'll flow and it'll have communications of people asking questions. Hey, I'm using this material. This is happening. Do you have any suggestions? Anything like that. Now with my material in the machine and the number 8 is being ignored, so I don't need to move that out of the pumpkin. I'm just going to leave that there. It's not going to cut it. But if I come down to my layer here where all the pumpkins are and it says cut, this is going to make that cut for me. So now I'm just going to hit print. And what that does is it will send it over to the Glowforge. And what I want you to see is how the Glowforge will move. Might take a minute. It's going to lag for just a second when I switch that camera. But the Glowforge will move. Uh-oh, that camera looks frozen. There we go. There's the action. So now it's moving and it goes to that center. I'm not sure what it does in the centerpiece, but it will always go to that centerpiece. And there's that piece of, you'll see kind of like a piece of fiber behind the camera, that black square. What that does, that's the part that communicates. So you want to make sure that that is flowing freely. When it's ready to start cutting, I just hit this flashing button and it will begin the cutting process. So if I go back to my software, I don't want to take it off of the screen so you guys can see it. But when I go back to my software, it will tell me how long this cut will take. So it'll take 5.5 minutes for this cut to go through. And so it'll cut out the pumpkin and it'll just take about 5.5 minutes to do that. But you'll see your little Glowforge moving around and you'll start to see the laser cutting through your wood. And it depends on which type of wood you're using. If you're using paper, it goes really lickety split. But since this is a little bit thicker, obviously plywood, it'll take a little bit longer to get it to cut through. Okay, so as you can see down here at the bottom, it's starting its progress and it's starting to cut through. With my filter outside the window, I don't really get any smell. You get a little bit of smell, like you'll get a little campy smell. But you absolutely want to make sure that you're filtering out out your window or into the filter. Normally, I do use my filter that is with the machine. It sits right next to my machine, and I normally use that. It's just a little bit loud, and I thought for this workshop, it would be better if I turn that off. So let me share with you the screen again, and I can show you, see how it's progressing down. So I've got now 4 minutes left in it. And this is where I was talking about the community chat. So if I wanted to, I could like ask a question in there and somebody could answer my question and things like that. Okay, so if we want to let that run, we'll give it a couple minutes and we'll come back to that. Here, I'll add my spotlight here. does anybody have any questions? There's a good question about the price for membership. And I don't have that information in front of me. I know when you first get your machine, you do get a 30-day trial of the membership. And then you can choose if you want to keep using the membership or not. There's certainly some perks in the software that will do certain things if you have the membership, but you don't have to have the membership to use your Glowforge or to use the software. So if you design in Illustrator or Procreate, or you purchase images and projects off, online, and then you can upload those into your Glowforge, you can absolutely do that. So you don't have to have the membership to use the software piece into your Glowforge. The exhaust is actually, the hose is pretty long. I'm not sure how long it is, but mine is at least, I'm gonna say it's kind of squinched up. It's like my table is about 5 feet from my window, and the hose like extends, so maybe like 8 feet. And I think it's just like a general industrial hose. So it's like your dryer kind of hose. So if you needed to make it even longer, you could do it like that. And actually you maybe even could do it like your laundry hose is done, where it just exhausts out into the back of the house. All right, I'm going to flip back. Oh, you can see both cameras. Okay, so that's perfect. You can see both of them. And we'll go in, and once this finishes to the cutting, you want to let it sit for a minute and kind of let it cool. And then you can open the top out and take it off. So we'll do that together. And while that's finishing, while the cooling is happening, I'll just show you in the Glowforge software how easy it is to use if you want to, say, add a name to something, or if you want to design something that you want to do. So let's go back over, and we'll share the screen again, see how much time is left. I think it's got, let's see, where are we? Oh, 1 minute and 16 seconds. Okay. So I'm not sure. One thing I have not tested, because I'm a little bit afraid to do something in the middle of a cut, but I haven't tested to see if I could work on another project while it's cutting. So does that project need to stay open on the software while it's cutting, or could I be working on something else while it's cutting? So I haven't tried that yet. That's one of my things I'd like to give it a try on. But I have, like I said, different materials I've cut. I've cut felt, I've cut the acrylics. The only limitation I found in terms of the acrylics is you can't do translucent acrylics with the Glowforge Aura. And that's because it's the I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but it's the laser isn't the right type of laser to do translucent materials. So like your clear acrylics, you can't cut through those types of things. But also, we've talked a lot about cutting. I haven't really talked that much about the engraving process and the scoring process. So scoring does like an outline of letters and words, and the engraving process really gets in there and engraves designs. So it's done. It's quiet now. I'm going to give it a minute to sort of rest, and then we'll go over there and pop it open. So let's see. Let me share my screen again, and this time I want to show you how you can work in the Glowforge Aura software. And I'm going to hide that part, but let's just talk about if you had this pumpkin, or you wanted to come back in and cut a different pumpkin. When I move one pumpkin, I can bring in another pumpkin or another project and cut. I don't have to remove what I've done out of the Glowforge to cut something else. I can keep that in there and cut right with it. If I wanted to add, say, some text or other images, like if I wanted to add some engraving to my pumpkin, I could come up here and insert text. So let's say I want to say thankful. and I could change the typeface here. And you can see all the different styles. So if I wanted to do something a little bit more cursive, I could do cursive. Let's get something a little bit thicker like this one. So if I wanted to add the word thankful to the pumpkin, let's say maybe I want to do it on the back or something, I can add that onto the pumpkin and enlarge it however large I need it to be, like that. So I could put that on the pumpkin. Now, if I wanted to, I could come to that layer. So it's my top layer here, and it's set as engrave. So I'm not sure if I can switch it to cut. Oh, I can. I was thinking maybe it was too thin, but I could cut that word thankful. I could engrave it and I could score it. So you see scoring, as I switch between the score and the engrave, the score does the outline of the design, where engrave fills in the design fully. So it would fill in that whole word, thankful, whereas the score just does the outline. But I can add that onto the pumpkin there. If I wanted to do something different, let's say I wanted to completely do something different, I could add different shapes on, I'm sorry, not shapes. What do I want to do? I want to add some of the artwork that's available from Glowforge. So let's say somebody in your family loves mushrooms. You could add a little mushroom shape. And this is an engraved design. So I could engrave this onto the pumpkin or a keychain or anything like that. So I could just add that onto the pumpkin or do it myself. Like if I wanted to make my own keychain, I could take a keychain shape, add that to the canvas, and then put the mushrooms onto the keychain. I keep turning it because I'm trying to get it to go in that pumpkin, but you can just add this to something else and engrave it and go from there, or cut it if you wanted to. So you really do have a lot of flexibility within the design program. I think of, if you're familiar or the Silhouette software, it is very similar. It does not have all the bells and whistles of like an Illustrator or something like that. It's pretty simple software, which I actually appreciate that it doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles and things that I need to worry about to get my designs to cut or engrave or score. It's really very easy to use, very user friendly. It's not like, I felt like when I first started using it, I didn't have to learn a whole new software because it really does do a lot of the basic things. Okay, so let's stop that one. And we're going to go over to the Glowforge and we'll pull out our pumpkin and you can see how that works. So it's off. There's no smoke or smell or anything coming from it. And I'm just going to lift the top up. There's the camera there. And then I can either just remove my pumpkin piece or remove the whole part of the pattern. And there's my pumpkin, and it just pops right out from my design. The masking tape on the back is holding on to it just this smidgen bit. So I'm going to bring this over. I'll show you what that looks like with a different overhead camera. And I'm also going to grab my tray. It may be hard to see in this light, but my tray is dirty. And I wanted it to be dirty so I could show you all how to clean it. You want to, after you've done a day of cutting or something like that, you do want to clean out your tray. So I would grab my vacuum and I would just kind of clean this out, clean off my rails, and make sure everything in my Glowforge was nice and tidy and clean for the next time I was ready to start my project. Okay, so let me, so Kathy, that's a really good question. Can projects be purchased in the subscription and created and sold for profit? That's a great question. I don't know the answer for it. Glowforge probably has an angel policy that gives you room to do that, but I'm not 100% sure what that angel policy is. But that's a great question, and I will research that so I know how to next time. Do you have to move the cut pumpkin to the middle of the board before you do anything additional like scoring or engraving? So if I were going to do something else to the pumpkin, I wouldn't have moved it. I actually would have designed it all at once and had it go through the machine all at one time. I wouldn't I probably wouldn't cut it and then come back and add something to it, but you certainly can if you need to. So I wouldn't, once you kind of unload it out of your machine and then you put it back in your machine, you'll see the pumpkin will move a little bit from where you had it. So if you want to see that, I can certainly show you that. And then let me share my screen again. So now you can see, oops, I don't have anything in there, but I'm going to go back. I'll put my tray back in. If you are doing something that is thick, like if you're doing a cutting board or something, if you're going to score on a cutting board or engrave on a cutting board, you would remove this tray, and that gives you a little bit more depth to work with the laser. So what you put down here, you can engrave or score on something that's deeper. It just has to clear the head of the laser. So now if I had this in like this originally, let's just say I turn it around and now I put it back in. When I close the lid, and you'll see on my software, when I close this lid, it will re-register where that is. So now you can see here, it's moved and now it looks like it's in a different place. I'm not sure if that answered your question or not. I hope it did. So I'm gonna go grab it again, and I'll grab the metal tray out as well, and I'll show you how I clean my metal tray. And I could just keep cutting on this board as much as I have space for to cut. So let me go to here. I believe the standard clearance is 1/4 of an inch for the overhead. So you can go definitely for something deeper. All right, so let me just add this here. Remove the spotlight. Okay, so here we are here. This is my cut piece, and you can see that like how it kind of looks a little burned. That's the burned edge. On the back, it's gone through as well. As I was taking it out though, a little bit of that masking tape was holding on. It didn't like quite go through there, which is not a problem. That's where you can grab some of your tools like a tweezers or an X-Acto knife and just give an extra little score here. I'm using my weeding tool, and I just do a score along that masking tape, and then it will pop right out. So I'll just push that in, and now it just pops right out. So it's just holding on to that masking tape there. There we go. So now I've got my design. Now on the edge of your design, it will have like a little bit of a burn. So you'll see my fingers will get dirty as I work with it. You can clean this off just with a towel. I use a paper towel. Some people use alcohol. They find if they've gotten some burn marks, alcohol is helpful to remove that. What we need to do first is, and let me put this down for a second. So once you cut your project, then you're just going to remove that masking. And we're going to remove that masking. And if you have a little bit of that side debris on your hands, like the burn stuff, it'll come right off with just a little damp cloth. But look at that, pretty. I love the wood. So pretty. And then you flip it over and do the same thing on the back side. We'll just remove that masking tape on the back side as well. Now I did cut out, I have everything already cut, the other part, because like I said, it probably would take about a half an hour to cut out this whole piece here. So we went ahead and did the cutting out of it ahead of time. But I wanted to show you with all these little pieces, like you have all these little bits and pieces that are pretty, except for, you know, maybe if you have a bigger piece you may want to save, but for the most part, these are trash. I put another piece of masking tape. I was curious to see if I could salvage. Now this all has the masking tape on it, so all these marks and things are on the masking tape. But I was curious to see if I could take the negative of my design. This is this guy here. If I could take that and save it, cut out another background and make the reverse. And I think I can. I would just remove the masking tape from all the little pieces, glue it, and then take my pumpkin shape and put it back down, and it would be the reverse. So I just thought that was kind of cool, and I wanted to show that to you guys, because if you feel like, oh, that's still a waste of material, I've got almost a whole another design here that I can use. Yes, you do. You can just save that, cut out another pumpkin, like you just would cut out another base piece, and then take off your masking tape on each little piece, which would be a little tedious, but if you are selling something like this, you can get a 2-for-1. That's great for you. Okay, so talk about like painting these. I just am going to grab, like, I just used this acrylic paint and your regular paint brushes. So we'll just put a little paint down. And I just painted the whole thing blue. Now I did leave my edges as best I could. I wanted them to stay, the burnt side. So I tried to keep it off the edges as best I could. If anybody has any more questions, I know the answers to the questions, but your questions are helping me know what questions to ask or to have answers ready for our next workshop. We do have a couple more workshops with the Glowforge coming up. One, we have, I don't know, Felicia, if you have those dates, but we have a keychain using acrylic class we're doing, which I'm really excited about. And then we also have another kind of home decor-ish project of making napkin rings. And we'll talk that one will use multiple layers and we'll add text to it. You'll actually get to add text to it. What we showed today. But see how nice this paint goes on. And we're just going to let that go on there. And this will just need a second or so to dry, more than a second, but just a little bit of time to dry once we get it all on there. It's got such a nice finish to it. The wood is so pretty. And like I mentioned, you can cut these. You don't have to paint them. I mean, they really are just beautiful on their own. You don't have to paint it, only if you wanted to. I just kind of like the colors, and I thought it was so fallish. And painting it the blue, some orange, I feel like this is going to go into my Thanksgiving decor. So I'm just going to let that dry for a minute. Set that aside. I've already painted my flower, the cover part, and it's very similar. This is the back side of it. And so you can see that it has a little bit of a burn there, but that's the back side of it. And I've already painted this size. And then I have this is just a base of it, and I'm just going to paint this with a cream color. Now I used for the bases, because the little piece there, I did use 2 pieces of each base. I glued those together, and I used that E6000, and then I clipped it together using one of my, you can just use anything, but I like these little wonder clips. I use those for everything if I need to clip anything together. So can you use this to engrave, to cut glass? I do not think glass is a material that can be used in here for cutting. And I'm not even sure if you can engrave on glass, but again, since it's translucent, I'd probably say not with this machine. with glass. You probably need a different type of machine that has a different head to do glass. Being translucent, I don't think that will work. And can you buy the wood in bundles? At the Michaels physical locations, you purchase each piece of wood, not as a bundle, but as an individual piece. So other place like on the Glowforge website maybe, but I know within the Michaels stores, you just pick up your pieces as you go. However, like if you just need, like for this project, you'd probably need 5 or 6 pieces of the 12 by 12 plywood. Okay, so now I've got my little base here, and it's still dry. It does dry quickly, but it's still drying. However, I'm going to go ahead and add my adhesive to the back. So we'll just pop that on. And again, this is just an E6000. You could use super glue, you could use Gorilla Glue, anything like that. I like to put the glue in the big spots where I have a lot of wood there to work with. And then I will do a border around the edge as best I can. So we'll just put that right. So get all my big spots first. And then I'll come back and use it in glue. That's right, Kathy. Kathy says the wattage of the laser doesn't do well with clear objects. So that's why the translucent materials don't work on the Glowforge Aura. The other Glowforge, which I don't, that one does do the acrylic, the clear materials. And it is a little bit, you do have the ability to go in the side door of the Glowforge, so you can use longer materials, like a 12 by 24 inch, and you are just limited by the head of the depth, how far down in the tray it will go with the depth. So I just put a little bit of that E6000 around, and then we'll just pop this right on top of the pumpkin. Put that right there. And this is where my Wonder Clips would come in handy. So we'll just line that right back up, and it lines up. So I'm always so impressed at how well it lines up. So I'm just going to pop that right there. And then we'll put another one right here. And as you can see, I'm not going to put this one in the little stand yet, but so you guys can see the little stand, I made it 2 pieces because this was a little bit thicker. So I put 2 of the stands together, and your pumpkin just slides into the stand, into that little hole. It snaps in, and it just sits right like that. And it'll sit right in the base. Now, you could add, if you had some rhinestones, you could add some rhinestones to your project. If you wanted to, I got all excited. I was like, "Ooh, you can even put glitter on it if you wanted to." I thought that would be really fun, but I got nixed on that one by my daughter. Another fun thing, like I just did the sample with, with the paintbrush and the painting. And I also have paint pens I use. So once I kind of get this on there, there, I have my scissors, but you could just tie like a little scarf around your pumpkin. You could make it into a little fancy bow. If you're good at bow making on camera, I'm not very good at bow making, but you could make a little bow there. You could add a little sprig of something. If you wanted to use these as placemats, place name markers, you could add another layer and cut out somebody else's name right in there. You could do that. It's really fun. Let me show you also. Oops. Okay, there. These are the paint pens I've used. These Posca paint pens are very fun to use if you're doing a smaller area. Like if I wanted to make these different colors with these little small pieces, this would be great. Also, when you are painting, what I like to do, I have another little thing here. So if I'm painting, like this is a little acorn earring that we cut, and this still has the masking tape on it. So let me just pop that out. and I think it goes orange, yellow, and white. So when I'm working with something like this, I like to do the middle color first so that I don't worry so much about getting the paint onto another area. So I just would section it off. So I'll remove just one piece of the masking, and then I can grab my paintbrush and let's see. I guess I'll use this little skinny one. I'm wondering if like this is too skinny, but I can just take a little bit of the yellow and paint that down on there. Then when I remove I can just remove the white, the top masking tape, and be able to paint that with the white, and it'll stay within, and I'll leave those little grooves there. So see, I just add that little paint right on there. Like that. Cute. It's hard to see because it's yellow and yellow. But then for the next layer, I can just remove this bottom piece, hold it up here, paint it orange, wait for it to dry, remove the top piece and hold it up there and let it dry that way. So you can really mix and match or make it easier by keeping your masking on your project as you go. So you don't have to completely remove that masking as you're going. So let's go back over here. Can you do my main camera, Felicia? Is that possible? You can move this one out of the way. All right, great. So Kathy, off the top of my head, I don't want to give the wrong depth with the tray removed. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I had one more thing to show you. I think it's 1/4 of an inch, but it may be deeper, maybe like 3/8 of an inch. And I wanted to talk about how to clean your mat. So can we go back to my overhead camera? I'm so sorry. I'll slide that back down here. Okay, so as you may have noticed on the mat part of it, move these things out of the way. There are, sorry guys, I have a spot. You can see these like lines. Now this is where the laser has hit the material and it doesn't go through the mat, but it just leaves a kind of like a sticky, gunky residue. It's not super sticky, but it is a little bit sticky, almost like sap. So it's a little bit sticky, but not like you're not going to be making a huge mess. But what you can do is just grab your Lysol wipes. And the cleaning of your machine and the pieces is really important for the machine to always function at its peak. So you just can use a Lysol wipe and wipe over that that area, move that gunk. So this just keeps your machine in peak performance, and it takes like 2 seconds. Does kind of have a little bit of an odor to it. It's kind of like cleaning a barbecue. It kind of smells like. But you can see the areas where I've cleaned that just has come right off. So right there, I just cleaned that area. It's nice and clean. I still have, you see that I have the work to do over here? Yeah, there we go. So this is still like brown, and I just need to keep cleaning that. So before I make my next cuts, I will have that all cleaned off. And it takes about four napkins to clean it. All right. So that is everything for our first Glowforge workshop. And Kathy, good question. Would baby wipes work? I don't know if baby wipes would work. I'm not sure if there's something in the Lysol wipes. You could always try baby wipes. There's no reason not to if you wanted something that was going to be a little bit gentler on the on your grid. And you always want to make sure that it dries before you cut again. So I would leave this out before putting it back in my machine to make sure that it did dry up and it was ready to go for the next time. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I really appreciate it. If there's no more questions, give everyone just one more second if you have any additional questions you wanted to ask. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you for joining me. I'm excited to see your journey. If you make something, definitely do tag Michael's and the Michael's Learn team. If you make something with your Glowforge, especially like our little pumpkins here, we would love to see it. I'd love for you to join us on our journey. Again, we have the keychain, acrylic keychain class coming up. We have in November, the note card. This is the project we're making. It's a little thankful latte, so you can put a gift card in there for a teacher or a bus driver or somebody in the office. You'll be able to make this into an ornament or give it as a part of another paper card that we're going to cut with our Glowforge. So we'll work with wood and paper in our card making class. So thanks everybody. Thank you Felicia for helping me out today. I hope everyone has a great week and you get some crafting done. Thanks a bunch.